Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the public hearing. As you know, we moved the items. Yeah, we did. As you know, we moved the items around so that we could hear North Hills first, since we know a lot of you are here for that case, Z-34-25. So we will start with that. And welcome our planning staff.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. Bynum Walter, Raleigh Planning and Development. I want to talk to you about rezoning Z-34-25 at North Hills. So this is a request to rezone just over 11 acres. It would be my pleasure. This is a request to rezone just over 11 acres from commercial mixed use with a 5-story height limit and parking limited frontage. There's also zoning here of 12 stories with an urban limited frontage. There's a special highway overlay district 2 across the entirety of the area in question. Other parts are commercial mixed use, 12-story height limit with some conditions. And there's also a piece that is that going to 12, 20, and 40-story, all conditions, all with the special highway overlay district. So the request is consistent with the 2030 comprehensive plan and the future land use map, and the Planning Commission does recommend approval. So there are 4 distinct pieces. They're non-contiguous in question here, and I'll talk a little bit about each of those as we go through the presentation. But you can see at the top of the screen a piece of property that fronts on Six Forks and also has frontage on Rowan Street. 2 areas with frontage along Six Forks on either side of Main at North Hill Street, and then a piece of property on Lassiter Mill Road that also has southern frontage on I-440. So the breaking out across these districts, the zoning conditions define these 4 areas. The first is they are calling the Lassiter height limit there of 12 stories. Main district, phase 2 is down there on Lassiter at 440. That's a 12-story height limit as well. I'm sorry, a 20-story height limit. And then the 2 pieces with Six Forks frontage, they are requesting the 40-story height there. Just zoom out a little bit for a little bit of context so you can see the I-440 Beltline along the south side of the site here. Six Forks running up the middle of the screen, north-south, everything in question on the west side of that. The applicant has offered some conditions here. The first condition defines those 4 areas within the rezoning request. The second one limits maximum building height for the Six Forks and the Six Forks and Lassiter site. Those are the 2 with frontage on Six Forks to 37 stories. They have prohibited a handful of uses that otherwise would be allowed here. They have limited their maximum building square footage to just under 3 million square feet and specified sort of the combination of what that could be made up of. So if it were only dwelling units, no more than 25 to 2,500, 21. Each of these numbers is the max, and so they can pick and mix and match to make up a combination of the just about 3 million square feet. They have required that development in the Lassiter site include at least 1 green stormwater infrastructure feature, and that be designed to treat a minimum of 15% of water quality volume on that site. They are requiring any apartment, mixed use, or general building type to meet green building certification standards, like a LEED or type standard. They have provided for a minimum of 10,000 square feet of open space in that Lassiter site, and that will be required to include at least 4 public amenities there's a menu in the conditions for them to pick through. They have also provided for a minimum of 30,000 square feet of open space in the Six Forks and Lassiter site. Again, 4 amenities required from the menu that they have outlined in the conditions. They are prohibiting parking between the building and the street on both Rowan and Six Forks. And that area up on Rowan Street with a minimum 15-foot building or structure setback from Rowan Street. And then they are prohibiting surface parking on Six Forks and or Lassiter Mill frontages between the building and the street, and providing for a build-to for any structure that they build on that site. They are also offering a contribution of $400,000 to the fire department, and then requiring buildings along Rowan Street that are 7 stories or more, at least 7 stories or more, to have a 12-foot minimum step back. So, as I mentioned, they have limited their max gross building square footage to just right at 3 million gross square feet. That's the gross building square footage that we project they could realize under their current zoning. And so they have very intentionally picked that so as not to increase their entitlement. Just quick review on height. So that Lassiter site at the top of the screen, the northernmost parcel, they're limiting that to 12-story height limit. The parcels with frontage, other parcels with frontage along Six Forks limited to 37 stories. And then the southwest corner there limited to 20 stories. The request maintains the existing special highway overlay district across all of the properties in question. You can see that, I'm sorry, it does not include the Lassiter site, but everything south of Lassiter Mill, or east of Lassiter Mill. So the SHOD remains. And then this is consistent with the plan, consistent with the future land use map and the urban form map. Number of consistent policies here across the next couple of slides. And then a very limited number of inconsistent policies. So one related to density transition, another around building height transition, and then a policy from the Midtown area plan around Midtown height. Planning Commission does recommend approval with the advice that you might consider talking with the applicant about additional frontage standards, including direct access from the sidewalk to the street and parking garage standards, management of trash pickup and loading, and height transitions between the site and neighborhoods near the intersection of Lassiter Mill and Currituck Drive. Some language about their findings, and then just would note that Commissioner Omikaya, who voted against this, did not offer a comment specifically after the vote about her rationale for her vote, but expressed concern about a number of things that are captured for you here. What questions could I answer for you before you open the public hearing?
Questions? Yep.
Thank you so much. Can you go back to the slide where you talked about trash pickup? Can you help me understand what the concerns were from the Planning Commission about trash pickup? Because I'm not following.
I imagine they're closely related to what happens on Rowan Street. That's a pretty the smallest right-of-way in the area, and I think probably questions about how buildings on that site would be served.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Okay. If there's no questions, we can, open the public hearing. And we have expanded the time to 12 minutes per side, and we will start with those in support. And I've left it to each side to organize, so I'll just call up, Jamie Schwedler.
Good evening, Mayor Cowell, and members of council. I'm Jamie Schwedler with Parker Poe, 301 Fayetteville Street, here on behalf of Kane Realty, along with Michael Birch with Longleaf. Our entire team is here to answer questions, but there are a tremendous amount of people who have written in support and also are here tonight. And at the time I conclude my remarks, I'd like to yield my time to them. We are asking for the same height that was approved years ago for the Eastern without increasing a single square foot or adding an additional unit beyond what we can today. That is what makes this case significantly different from what was filed in 2021, which asked for twice as much density, much like other cases that you've received in recent years. This case listened to the concerns then. That twice as much density would have resulted in more traffic. We heard that concern, and we've capped ourselves by not asking for any more than we can build by right today. But in the meantime, we added the exact public benefits that are called for in the Midtown plan, doing exactly what that plan instructed: more height in return for more public spaces, enhanced environmental conditions without adding any increase in traffic. Today, we can build 2.9 million square feet within our footprints at 12 and 5 stories, according to the envision analysis tomorrow that your competent staff has prepared. And that is because this area is one in 4 areas in the city designated a regional mixed use, one of 7 areas in your city of 500,000 people designated a city growth center. It is simply where in 2009 and today we expect to absorb the growth that we're attracting by all of these #1 accolades that we've been earning over the years. And that's exactly what's happened. In 2020, the Midtown plan was adopted by Council. And in that plan, there are specific recommendations in the map on the right side of your screen that have recommendations on the use and the height. The main district is recommended for 20 stories. But in that exact same plan that we're relying on and those opposed have pointed to, there is a direct expectation that those heights would be exceeded. And there's also a policy on the center of your screen that tells you exactly what to do when that happens. If a requested rezoning is inconsistent with this map, then Council should look for consistency with the comprehensive plan by looking for significant public benefits that, quote, exceed code requirements such as stormwater mitigation, carbon reduction, and expanded or enhanced public space accommodations. And that's exactly what we've done in the conditions that are on your screen. We've taken each of those conditions, we've looked at those policies, and we've added conditions that match a comprehensive plan or a Midtown plan or many of them. And you can see in the chart on the screen how consistent this case is. One of the most important conditions that you've heard the most about is our density cap. What do we mean by that? On the left side of your screen, you see a massing of what we could do today by 12 and 5 story by right. On the right side of the screen, you have that same exact massing, the same square footage, the same units, just stretched up. And on the right side of your screen, you see that creates the enhanced public spaces, the open space that is now available by the additional height. The existing zoning caps that we have are from the Envision tomorrow. They're exactly mimicked in our Condition 4. And so there's no change between the density on the left side of the screen and the right. There's no change in traffic. What there is a change in is enhanced open space, like the space before you on the screen that's both enhanced in terms of quality and quantity from your UDO, stormwater conditions in terms of green stormwater, in terms of a green building certification that speaks to carbon reduction, the first of its kind in the city, frontage and streetscape commitments, transitions along Rowan, and the $400,000 commitment to the Raleigh Fire Department based on extensive discussions with staff. We understand there's concerns on Six Forks Road. This map shows that the extent of that project in red does not go to the scope that's adjacent to our project, and so that would not be improved with Six Forks anyway under the prior scope, but would be improved should this project go forward under your UDO as this develops at site plan. So what we're offering is the same impact, just offset by more benefits. It's the same amount of units, which means it's the same amount of people, which means it's the same amount of drivers, which means it's the same amount of traffic. The heights do not create more traffic in this case. What they do create is the opportunity for more tax revenue for the city to invest in itself. And that's exactly what Kane Realty has done since 2001 in this area. Since the investment in North Hills, Kane Realty has invested over $10 million in transportation improvements. Jobs have almost doubled in the Midtown area, and the Midtown area has absorbed 27,000 of the city's growing population during that time. Approving this case will allow us to continue to grow up and offer the spaces and financial benefits needed to offset that growth that's already permitted by right without increasing traffic. I appreciate the people that are here in green to support the case and yield the rest of my time to our supporters. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to read the other names: John Duncan, Jennifer Truman, Jamie Ferguson, Brian Brennan, Kevin Jennings, and Eric Brown. So I'll let you all figure out how to divide your 7 minutes and 11 seconds.
Certainly, I'll be brief. Kevin Jennings, I have businesses at North Hills. My children work there. I live at 405 Ramblewood Drive. When I walk out my front door, I'm looking at the buildings. So we walk to North Hills. We spend a lot of our time there. So I'm greatly affected by the by the growth of North Hills, and I bought to be near North Hills. So I'm fully in support of this proposal. The restaurant in specific that I have, it will look right at the created green space that will be allowed by these buildings being able to go taller, and mind you, not taller than the other buildings that are already there or very close to them. We're not talking about some oddly shaped building. This is similar to the other items that are already in place there. So. Yeah, I'd just so much rather have a taller, thinner building with more open space, and I think that some of the folks who are maybe here are confused by thinking that if this proposal was turned down, that there won't be buildings built there. That's just simply not the case. So many of the issues with infrastructure, with trash, with traffic study that will be required within the site plan portion of the planning process, a lot of those things will be dealt with. And as I understand it, many of the issues that we're hoping to be accomplished with the Six Forks Road plan, with increased pedestrian walkways, things like that, those are going to be part of that site plan too. And Mr. Kane and Kane Realty were responsible for actually implementing those things. So, we'd love to see the open space. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, y'all. If you're here in support of the case, please raise your hand or raise your signs. My name is Jen Truman. I'm here in support of this case, and I want to ground this in something really simple. North Hills used to be a sea of parking lots. We talked about this already today. It's already been transformed into one of Raleigh's most successful mixed-use districts. The question before you tonight is not whether change is coming. It already has. The real question is whether this is where tall mixed-use buildings should go. And if the answer isn't North Hills, a major corridor at the Beltline surrounded by jobs, services, and existing infrastructure, then where exactly are they supposed to go? We've all heard concerns about height and traffic, but the rezoning documents themselves show the proposal could actually reduce the number of vehicle trips to the site compared to what's already allowed today, with frequent transit routes and connections crisscrossing these sites. It's also worth remembering that the best practice in urban planning is no longer to widen roads, because widening roads simply induces more traffic. Most of the congestion on 6-4s is not from North Hills, it's from people living far north in Raleigh and driving through. And many of the same voices that you'll hear opposed to this project tonight always argue that growth should only happen on major corridors. That's exactly what this project is. Council doesn't get to vote on perfect projects, right? You get a yes or a no on what's in front of you. And this project in front of you is a good project in the right place that's already proven it can absorb the growth that our city needs it to absorb. So I'm not nostalgic for parking lots, and I hope you aren't either.
Good evening. My name is Brian Brennan, and I live at James Croft Way. 7 months ago, I graduated from college here in North Carolina, but most of my friends did not stay in this area like me. They went to Washington, D.C. or New York City, not because of the famously cheap rent, but because these two cities have walkability and they have open spaces. This rezoning gives us the opportunity to bring walkability and open spaces, real open spaces, here to North Hills. We have parks, Raleigh has parks, and those are open spaces, but real open spaces are not destinations that you have to drive 15 minutes to access. They are integrated within the fabric of a city. That in turn creates walkability, which is why our own city planning staff has calculated that this will result in 2,000 fewer vehicle trips per day. That is good for our climate, it's good for our city, and it's good to keep young people like me in Raleigh. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think is it working now?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, Council. My name is Eric Braun, 3316 Rock Creek Drive. I live in the Drury Hills neighborhood, which is just off of Six Forks Road, about a half mile from North Hills. I moved to my home in 2016, and before that I worked at or near North Hills since 1995. I still remember grabbing hot dogs at Scotty's in the bottom floor of the old mall when it was virtually deserted. I say that to emphasize why developments like North Hills need flexibility for continuous innovation and evolution. The added height allows for smaller building footprints, which opens up valuable land for public amenities and open space around the development, like the amenities available across the street at North Hills East. By approving the rezoning, Council will ensure that Kane Realty can continue meeting the demand for more outdoor public spaces throughout Raleigh. As a speaker noted during the recent rezoning at the property at Peace and West, if not here, then where? Thank you.
Good evening, Council. Madam Mayor, Happy New Year to you all. My name is Jamie Ferguson. I support this project. In 1993, I brought my prom dress at the JCPenney at North Hills. 30 years later, we now all know this as Midtown. Growth cannot stop when an area becomes successful. Depending on what publication you choose to read, you will find statistics stating that Raleigh will be 37,000 to 104,000 rooftops short for housing in the next 8 to 10 years. Thoughtful, intentional density in mixed-use walkable corridors like this adds housing where infrastructure, retail, and transit are available, which will reduce sprawl, car-dependent commutes. Planning now for smart, responsible density that does not disturb our surrounding properties is how we remain accessible, successful, resilient, and inclusive as a city. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Duncan. I live at 4201 Rockdale Drive. I've been back for 22 years. We live about a block behind the Eastern Tower in North Hills East. I've attended most of the recent information sessions about proposed tower constructions, and to be clear, it's nothing short of amazing what's happened in North Hills. John Kane and his employees have been wonderful about contacting neighborhood residents and keeping us apprised of what they're proposing and what they're doing. We're lucky to live in one of the most walkable neighborhoods in this city, and part of that is because the various developments there. Kane Security is very visible in the area. It's just a nice, safe feeling place to be, and it's nice to see the people walking their dogs and their babies down the street in front of our house. We are very lucky to live in this neighborhood, and we totally support the proposed zoning increase there. We like the open spaces. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that completes the support, so we'll reset the clock to 12 minutes, and I can just read the names I have down here. We have 10 folks signed up: Larry Helfant, Dana Inga, Nora McCann, Tim Canning, Robert Longo, Charles Winston, Lisa Hewitt, Barbara Jones, Kevin Kwong, and Randall Jones. And up to y'all how you want to divvy it up.
Can I take a second to set them all?
Yep.
If you plan to speak, just come on up. I don't see anybody here. No. Which is amazing. Here's the order I'd like you to come in. I'll start off. I'll be as quick as I can. Nora, you finish after me. Randy, get in there quick. Lisa, after Randy. Bob, if you would go right after Lisa. Charles, right after Bob. And then Tim. And I don't think Barbara, Kevin, I don't think either one. Lisa.
Yeah. All right, y'all ready?
You're after Randy. Before you start the clock, I just want to note that you changed the schedule this afternoon where a lot of people are working. Fortunately, they all got notified, and fortunately, they all read their emails. I'm hoping that you offer some courtesy. If they don't all get to speak, I'm hoping you allow them to speak. They took the time to get here. You should take the time to listen to them. Planning staff has stated that the application is mostly consistent with the comprehensive plan. The application is requesting height everywhere that is inconsistent with the zoning recommendations in the Midtown area plan, which recommends heights between 4 and 20 stories, inconsistent with the future land use map, which recommends heights between 2 and 20 stories, and inconsistent with table LU2, which recommends height for regional mixed use at a maximum of 20 stories. The staff analysis of consistency with the comp plan continues to suggest that compliance would be improved with less building height. So how can the staff review determine that this application is consistent with the future land use map, the urban form map, and the zoning map of Midtown area when it clearly is not? Bottom line, if you follow the comp plan guidance, you don't place your tallest buildings directly across the perimeter so they face and impact low-density neighborhoods. Most of the proposed buildings of 40, 20, and 12 stories do just that. That is why the applicant was cited as being deficient in density and height transitions. It should be noted that there are conditions for stepbacks along Rowan, but none for Lassiter Mill, where buildings should be stepped or terraced from 20 to 12 and finally 4 stories. That was what was in the original proposal and the Midtown Area Plan. You've seen the environmental impacts illustrated in the shade studies when you don't follow this guidance. Before closing, let's address one myth that the applicant uses for justification for heights greater than 20 stories. If a rezoning includes a request for height in the upper half of the range, it should include significant public benefits beyond code requirements. The range is from 4 to 20 stories, not greater than 20 stories. There hasn't been a rezoning approved for more than 20 stories since the Midtown Area Plan was approved by Council in 2020. Both of those developments are fully compliant with a variety of housing, including affordable units. Ms. Schwedler knows this, and she was the attorney for one of them. In terms of public benefits, it should be noted that Building to LEED Standards is a green building certification program that evaluates sustainability and energy efficiency of building. This should be a city requirement. This is not a public benefit. It is a marketing benefit to make resale much easier in the future. You are being asked to approve a development plan for the next 10 years with selective compliance with the Midtown Area Plan. Is the closing of core business services such as a pharmacy, a dry cleaner, a gas station, and banks to build on a brownfield site worth it for flawed development with so many inconsistencies? Having canceled the 6 Forks Road project, will any infrastructure support the provided for an already stressed road system? Will the closure of the fire station, without a timeline, budget, or location, jeopardize the response and rescue of the residents in this densely populated area? The comp plan is for policy guidance and is intended to shape how the city grows and develops through the year 2030. As Councilor Silver keeps repeating, follow the plan, man. The application in front of you today does not. And by the way, density is capped to avoid the issue of affordability. No, don't kid yourself.
Thank you.
My name is Nora McCann, and I live at 413 Vernon Terrace, and it's in the Farrier Hills neighborhood, so it's adjacent to this development. And one of the things that I'm against is the 40-story buildings. I'm not against development. I mean, it has to happen. We have a lot of people that need housing. So when you live in the shack, I will actually end up in a shade canyon. One of the things I enjoy the most is gardening. And when I look at those shade studies, I'm going to be in the shade, you know, from 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's just too much of an impact for me. So basically, that's what I'm asking, is for everyone just to follow the rules and stay with the 20-story maximum. I'm a civil engineer for 28 years, so my expertise is in metropolitan transportation planning, traffic forecasting, travel demand modeling, and I hear everyone talking about the 2030 comprehensive plan. Well, on your Campo website, you've got a 2055 model up and running, and the volumes are out of this world. For 2023, the annual average daily traffic along 6 Forks Road was between 35,000 and 54,000 vehicles. Your deficiency and needs scenario viewer, which is produced by Campo, the mapping, you're showing overcapacity from the interstate up towards Dartmouth for the year 2055. And the thing that kind of blew me away was in 2055, they're showing that 6 Forks Road has been widened to 3 lanes in each direction. That has been pulled from the plan. That is an unfunded project, so it should not be shown in a future map. Another thing I wanted to talk about was, density. We divide all of these land uses into traffic analysis zones. And when you look at a traffic analysis zone, you're looking at the mixed use, the living space, the office space, the commercial space. All of this generates trips. And talking about 2030 is not going to do it. You have to talk about 2055. We already have rules in place, and all I ask is you follow the rules. And we are a community, and we don't want 40-story towers at our doorstep. As city council members, you represent us, your neighbors, and we, your neighbors, are asking you to please deny this request. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Randy Jones. I appreciate the opportunity to speak about this rezoning request. My wife Barbara and I are longtime residents of the North Hills Midtown community. We love our community. Our family has grown with it over the past 20-plus years. We enjoy all that the Main and Lassiter districts have to offer today and generally support completing the development of these two districts responsibly. Toward that end, over the past 3 months, I participated in the public review process for this request. After complaining one too many times to a friend I respect very much, they told me that I just do not understand the review process. It's hard for someone like me to admit this, but they are right. I do not understand why the city solicited my comments and questions about this request, but did not acknowledge, evaluate, or respond to them. In my view, the city has ignored me and my questions and concerns, plain and simple. I sure don't understand that. And if, with so many issues outstanding, the council brings this review process to a close tonight with a favorable vote on the request, I most certainly will not understand that. I implore the council to defer this rezoning request for further consideration of all the outstanding issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go off script. I agree with everything that he just said. I sent you 2 emails earlier asking you to postpone this public hearing. I think there could be some more dialogue between the applicant and the community about some of the conditions that we're asking for. And I want to be clear to those who are for this. Those who are opposed, we're not opposed to the development. We know something's going to be built there. Our concerns are that it doesn't follow the Midtown area plan, which thousands of people had their input, and a lot of money was spent. So it's the height, it's the transitions. In another case, it's the transportation. Since the Six Forks project has been canceled, Kane said before, when this was up before the city council, that they wouldn't even start construction until that project was done. Now what's the plan? I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bob Longo. My wife and I live on Temple Street. I just want to say that plans are great. I'm an engineer. I know you build plans. But plans have to face realities. And the realities in this area are not what might have been expected when plans were put in place. We chose to live on Temple Street for the quality of life that location offered us. A comfortable residential community, convenient access to the services and the dining available here in North Hills, and easy access to downtown. The failure to implement the Six Forks Road improvements have already frayed our quality of life. At times during the day, even now, Six Forks Road is difficult and slow to access and traverse. We go down North Hills Drive and deal with the Crabtree Mall traffic to avoid going down Six Forks. The request asks to add 3 million square feet of mixed-use buildings, including these 2 37-floor behemoths right on Six Forks Road. Given the condition of Six Forks Road and the suboptimum Beltline interchange, I doubt transportation engineers can put forth a realistic plan to support this level of development. But that plan and committed funding should be a prerequisite to approval of additional development. The plan to close the fire station has no follow-up with firm plan or funding for a replacement facility. A committed funding a committed and funded plan that will support timely public safety services into the area is another critical infrastructure element that should be in place prior to additional development. Even setting aside these infrastructure plan gaps, we view the rezoning request as inappropriate. It is grossly out of character with the existing development in the affected area. We talked about the building height contrast. It's not a transition in this plan, it's a cliff. We expect that there are many current residents in the area and businesses who are very concerned about this plan, and we urge you to deny it.
Thank you.
I want to start. Can I? There's 48 seconds up here. I had 2 minutes. He has 2 minutes.
Yeah.
How do we deal with this?
If you have written remarks, you can submit them there, but we've given 12 minutes to the other side, so then I would have to go give more time to them, and they've kind of allocated their time. So if you would just submit your written comments, we can do that.
Give them the additional time as well.
They've already used their time, and they've all spoken, so I don't think we've told 12 minutes ahead of time.
Not to be heard, Mayor. I did not do that.
We told each side 12 minutes, and I can't be unfair, and we told everybody.
You are being unfair. Give us a chance. This is the only chance.
There are comments that you have not listened to.
Face the public.
You have 12 minutes total. You have 48 seconds.
I'm sure you'll review what they submit. That's what we have been told. That's part of the complaints that they had already. So thank you for your time. I'm going. Thank you, sir. Good luck with that 400,000.
All right. Don't start the clock on me. I'm going to go for 48 seconds, I guess.
Sounds good.
Good evening. I'm Charles Winston, Williamsboro Court in North Hills area. I grew up in this neighborhood and have lived here for most of my life. I've seen it change over time, and while I understand growth is necessary, the zoning proposal, Z-34-25, goes too far. Let me be clear, I have nothing against John Kane. He runs a good company. But this level of density, 40 stories, is out of scale for our community. It violates our own area plan and piles thousands more cars onto roads you just voted not to improve. I have many friends and neighbors who live in the neighborhood. Not one person I know is for this rezoning and what is going on at North Hills and St. Albans Corridor. This is not smart growth. It's pressure without support. Our infrastructure can't handle it. Our neighborhood can't absorb it, and the residents who lived here for decades deserve better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you going to let me speak, Mayor?
No, sir. It's not
this
fair
is
or
the second
equitable.
Time,
On July 1st, I came to speak to this.
Okay.
And I was denied with the squad.
Mm-hmm.
The same one. I cannot believe. Why should I step aside? Are you going to escort me out? Come. I cannot.
Please submit your remarks. Okay. All right. That closes well, I guess the question is, do we want to close the public hearing? Do you have questions or commentary? Okay.
So I have some questions, a couple of things that was mentioned, but we also did receive many emails on this case, and one of the emails mentioned infrastructure. So I was wondering if Wayne is here or what. Can you speak to the infrastructure improvements that are planned or the goals outside of this project?
Good evening. Ben Brown, Stormwater Management. Poor substitute for Wayne, but I'll try. Now, as far as the infrastructure needs in this area, they were last inventoried in the mid-2010s, and there's nothing on our schedule currently to do anything in the affected areas where this rezoning is taking place. We do have project around here, but I'm happy to revisit, like with our maintenance staff, a deeper dive for this exact area. But per our records, we don't have anything that's a glaring maintenance issue or anything that we need to be replacing like in the next 5 years.
Okay, and that's around stormwater. What about Raleigh water and sewer?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Per our records, most of the infrastructure within this property is less than 20 years old. We actually just completed a capital project to replace the North Hills outfall about 4 or 5 years ago. So from our standpoint, it's in good shape.
Okay. All right. That's helpful because, like I said, we all received an email around infrastructure and issues with flooding and sewer backups. But from what I'm hearing is within the last 4 to 5 years, we've replaced any trouble areas. Yes. Okay.
Councilor Jones.
Thank you. I have a question for staff for transportation. I had submitted this, and we received it in the packet earlier, but I just wanted to make sure that it was uplifted. In my conversations with residents, there was a discussion about previous, I think it was the 2016 case for North Hills that came up, and that there were going to be some required turning lanes there. And I would just like staff to speak on the status of those turning lanes to daylight that for the public.
Good afternoon, Carter Robertson with Transportation. I believe we have a slide at the end here. Okay. Which intersection were you referring to? We have a number of previous development plans and TIAs that have completed improvements, 2 of which are outstanding. So I could speak to both.
Sure. I'm going to pull up just so that we can say it. It was my questions on the, hang on 1 second, I'm pulling it up.
This is mine.
That's not it.
I'll go ahead and
Yeah, go ahead. While I'm
begin.
looking for I don't have the paper right in front of me from earlier today, but it was
Okay.
about the 2 turning lanes on, oh, there it is.
So what's shown on the screen right now are all the improvements that were recommended from 3 previous TIAs in the area. All of these have been completed except for number 2 right here at Lassiter Mill and Six Forks Road, and number 5 on the off-ramps coming off of I-440. For number 5, that's currently under construction. They're installing a 3rd right turn lane for that off-ramp. And for number 2, there was supposed to be another exclusive right lane coming off of Lassiter Mill Road. That was never developed because that particular improvement was specifically tied to the development of the gas station on the corner. So since that was never redeveloped, that was never triggered as an improvement. That's something that would likely be flagged again at the next TIA and site plan. We continue to coordinate with the developer and NCDOT.
Fantastic. No, I think you answered it. And you're going over, I was specifically talking about the 2016, but you've gone over all of them, so I appreciate that. I think the summary of what we're trying to get across is that what has been required, for the most part, has all been completed except for what you just noted at the gas station. So the turning lanes, and I think I was referencing the North Hills PD in November of 2016, and that was the construct a 3rd westbound right turn lane that is currently under construction, and then to construct turn lanes and install new traffic signal at St. Albans and Hardemont, that has recently been completed as well. So the requirements from past cases, except for I think 1 or 2 that you mentioned at the end, have all been done.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, if I can just follow up with you on transportation, since we've got this slide up. Back to number 2. My understanding is the grade of this intersection, Lassiter Mill and Six Forks Road, it gets an E or an F. Could you explain that? Is that still the case? How will this improvement at number 2 change that?
I would defer to one of my colleagues. I think Mr. Kimbrell is coming up here to help.
Thanks.
Good evening, Bradley Kimbrell, Transportation. Just so I'm clear,
So is it a question related to the 2018 corridor study?
Yes.
Yes, so those counts from the study itself were from I think 2012 count, volume count, and then they grew the traffic and then projected those. Any development plan going forward would be required to do a TIA with updated counts. We would have a sense of what the volumes are today as well as what would be projected as growth. From that, we would run through the model and understand what the demand versus capacity would be. That's what level of service is. It's a A through F rating, and it would be difficult to guess what today's conditions are, whether that's a E, D, F, but the city staff would work with NCDOT to determine what improvements would properly mitigate the impact.
So just to understand, without a TAA, you cannot provide that score. Rather, that score was based on assumptions made back when it was produced in the 2018 plan.
That's correct, because it was using data from 2012.
Okay, but that score at that time was an E or an F, which is the worst scores.
That's correct. And level of service is typically reviewed at the peak hour performance, which is the worst case scenario.
Yeah. I mean, I think as we've heard, one of the major concerns in the area is transportation. And I know we have, it sounds like, potential for number 2 to change with the development of the site, which would be good. But we also have some unfunded projects further north.
Okay. Questions? Yeah.
Yeah, while we've got transportation staff nearby, do you have any slides in that deck that review where the Six Forks Road improvements would have been had we not canceled the project?
I don't believe we have a slide, but I could just quickly review the changes. So we do have a slide?
No, I can just pull you farther out so you can
Good enough. So as you all will probably recall, staff brought the Six Forks project to you all for consideration in July of last year. Since the beginning of that project, costs continued to escalate. It was reduced in scope from Rowan all the way up to Lynn, to Rowan to Millbrook. And then when we came to you in July, costs had escalated so far that we were recommending moving away from the widening and directing those funds more towards spot and safety improvements. Those improvements that you all voted to go forward with were closing a sidewalk gap along the Carroll Middle School frontage, installing a signalized pedestrian crossing between Northbrook and Northwood, installing a new traffic signal at North Glen, and finally intersection improvements at Millbrook Road.
Okay. So even if the Six Forks Road project had continued as planned, it would have terminated at Rowan?
At Rowan, yes, north of the site.
Proceeded north, so not where these sites are located.
That's incorrect.
Okay. So then I probably have other transportation questions. I'm going to move on to fire for a minute.
Thank you.
Another question I had was related to fire. There's been commentary that this is going to close, that this is going to cause the closure of the fire station. To confirm, we own the land where the fire station is located, and we will not close it until such time as we have a replacement in play. Is that correct, Madam Manager?
And yes, and you will recall that in the fire master plan, there are some projections and recommendations for a new fire station, and we will be bringing that forward to you as part of the budget process for FY27.
Okay, great. And is it the...
So just to be clear, we will never not have fire service for the area.
Got it. And is it in an ideal scenario where land ownership were no object, would it be ideal for this station to stay where it is, or is a different site a better outcome for the system as a whole?
We can have the fire chief come down here, but based on everything that we've seen and every part of all of our internal discussions, as well as working with the consultant, this footprint doesn't meet the needs of the existing demands of that fire station, let alone any potential growth for the future.
Yes, good evening, Council, Mayor, Herbert Griffin, Fire Chief, and Director of Emergency Management. As the City Manager alluded to, this footprint is not big enough to house a ladder truck. It requires an 80-foot bay. The current station was built in 1964. It only has 2 bays, and they're 60 foot apiece. This particular station would have a ladder truck because the closest ladder truck right now is 7 minutes away to the North Hills area. One of the main things about the building structure is if the building is built with standpipes and sprinkler systems, that gives us time and leeway to come to the building, pressurize the building, and do rescues and things of that magnitude.
Okay. So, in short, you would need a bigger site,
yes,
no
ma'am.
matter
a bigger
what,
footprint, yes. Yes.
Irrespective of this case. And is there already a ladder truck needed in this area for the existing
Yes,
conditions?
ma'am. It's needed there. Yeah.
Okay. So this development is not creating a new need.
No.
Okay. Helpful. I probably have more, but I'll pause and pass the mic for a moment. Thank you.
Councilor Jones, did you have a?
I have a follow-up.
Chief Griffin, if
Chief
you don't
Griffin,
mind.
I'm so sorry. I had a follow-up for you. I'm sorry. Thank you. In terms of height, since that has been brought up as a concern for the community in height, what about the fire department in something that could be something as high as 37 stories? Is that something that you guys are prepared for, or is it something that you need to get prepared for in order to do?
No, the Raleigh Fire Department is prepared for high rise. We fight high rise every day. If you've seen 2 weeks ago at the Raleigh Convention Center, that's considered high rise. Anything over 5 floors is considered a high rise of 75 feet. Once again, the building must be sprinklered to meet the needs of what we do. Once the trucks get there, we have to pressurize the building from the fire hydrants. That's any building. And we fight a fire from the standpipes 1 floor below. We connect 1 floor below the fire and transport to the fire floor. The sprinklers contain the fire. We actually do the firefighting operations. That's any building in the city by code.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
I did want to make one other just request, not for it. I finished up my fire questions. Thank you. I did want to make note of the fact that we've heard not only in emails but tonight about Six Forks Road, and that it's been a big point in every email that we've gotten that's in opposition for it. I do believe that the concern. I don't think that this case can solve that by any means, but we just canceled it for justifiable reasons. I voted to cancel it for the cost escalation, of course. But do I think that we also owe the community some more conversation to explain, we canceled this road project, which we've noted was in some projections in the future, and can we have that conversation to help the community understand why density is okay, and why maybe if the council feels that this is it should be approved, where we can have that conversation and explain that. And I do think that this is a really good case to have in committee, in transit and transportation, to have that discussion. I know that we've talked about it, I mentioned it before, but it's something that I think I would love to hear some thoughts on. Is this something that you guys feel warrants some more conversation within that committee? I think it does. I know that the community was wondering that, and I just wanted to put that on the table.
As the local representative, I have no problem keeping the hearing open to have that conversation. And so I don't know if the questions are completed, but certainly I'm open to continuing a conversation on January 20th. I do not believe going into a committee, we have a staff report. They went to great lengths to disclose some of the concerns and addressing some of the impacts as staff must do, and it shows that traffic counts actually went down with this new development proposal. And so I would not support it going to committee, but certainly if it's desired my colleagues to keep the hearing open and have this conversation and hold it over to January 20th, that's something I'm prepared to make a motion, but I'd rather wait to see if all my other colleagues have their questions answered.
Councilor Branch.
Yeah, I do just have one question. I know it was brought up in the report from Planning Commission, and I know it was brought up by those in opposition about affordable housing, and just wondered if the applicant would be willing to review that process that was brought up tonight and look at affordable housing.
Yeah, thanks for the question. We talked a little bit about affordable housing, both at the Planning Commission and somewhat with neighbors. It didn't come up quite as much. And we had some great conversations about the applicability of the Midtown Plan and what that policy says. And I think it's important to talk about that as why affordable housing has not been a part of this case before. It was on the table in 2021. We were asking for twice the amount of density because additional units beyond your entitlement is how you subsidize those affordable units. And when we looked at the most important issue that we've heard again and again, it was traffic, and that's what we focused on. Now that affordable housing has become a little bit more a part of the conversation, we looked at the Midtown Plan policies. And what that policy says is that residential projects that have units over 7 stories should have affordable housing, but in the amount that you are over your entitlement, 10% of the overage should be affordable. Well, again, we don't have anything over the entitlement. We're not asking for over. So technically that affordable housing policy doesn't apply, and we've talked about that with staff, and that's been the position kind of through the case. If it's something that the council would like us to continue to talk about, I think we would want to be treated no differently than any other case, and some of the cases that are asking for those heights have done just what you've asked for, and those other cases at 1% of the entitlement, the maximum entitlement here at $40,000 per unit. That's what you've applied in other cases. Mind you, those other cases have had additional entitlement to offset. The most recent case you approved that was in that 40-story category had twice the amount of density, just like we did last time. So it's actually a more onerous thing for us to consider. But if that's something that, we've heard it from the public, we had a little sidebar while the opposition was talking, and I know that's something that they care deeply about. So if that's something that the council feels is important, we would be willing to do something like that, and like your most recent case, tie it to the building permit, for example. But we want to be treated fairly and equally just as everyone else, so that's something we could entertain. But I don't want to suggest something that kind of gets something nailing on the wall. It has to be something very specific. And coming back on the 20th, if that's the will of the majority of the council, we'd be willing to entertain something on that limited basis.
Councilor Patton.
Yeah, I'll say as the Chair of Transportation and Transit, if it's the will of the council to receive this in committee, I'm happy to do so. But on this topic, I think I've been trying to think through the previous case with much requested increase in entitlement and the public benefits that were offered as compared to this case, which is not asking for more units or more space, just in a taller form. So what is the proportional amount of public benefit to match? And I have these biblically long plans opened up in front of us. And a comprehensive plan is 697 pages, if anyone wants to know. But if we're quite textualist about it, it does say that if you're in the upper half of the range, significant public benefit should be offered. And this 40 stories is, by height alone, higher than the upper half of the range. So it should be significanter on these public benefits. So I would be interested in what you can bring back on the affordability topic.
Councilor Lambert Melton.
Yeah, I'll just weigh in a couple things. I think an important piece of this case, and something I was hoping that would be daylighted from the hearing today, was that chart that shows the existing entitlement today as far as amount of retail and residential and what you're asking for. And it is exactly the same. It is not an increase in anything. And so that means it's going to be the same amount of people living there, the same amount of stores there, the same amount of traffic there, if this case gets approved or not. And so denying this case is not going to prevent something from being built. Something will be built. So we're really not talking about what is being built. We're talking about how it's being built. I would like to see a development that is more people-oriented and more open. And so the benefit of approving the case is we're going to have a project that is not taking up the entire right-of-way. It's going to be the same stuff. It's just going to be taller so that the ground floor is more open and more people-oriented. There's already a 35-plus, I think it's 37-story building right across the street from where this proposal is asking to put 37-story buildings. And so I don't know why we would want to facilitate an outcome that will result in a worse project. Now, the benefit of a rezoning case coming before us is we get to ask for some of these extras. And I think that the Midtown Small Area Plan calls for these types of public benefits. And so if you're going to bring back an affordable housing contribution, I would support that, and I would support holding the case for that to be added. As far as the conversation in transportation and transit, I would support just having a general conversation in committee about Six Forks Road, daylighting a bit more about what the challenges we had in implementing the plan, what the future looks like. My goal in voting to table the plan when we did was to preserve it so that we can have it shovel ready for the next round of funding. And I don't know that that conversation was really daylighted. Like, I don't think any of us intend to cancel Six Forks Road. We were trying to maximize the funds we had now for these spot improvements. So I would be happy to have a conversation, transportation and transit, about Six Forks Road and future development, including this development, but keeping this project separate, coming back on the 20th to tighten up some of these benefits. But I really hope the community understands that we're really not talking about what is being built. That is not changing. It's just how it's being built, and we should be trying to cultivate and facilitate a better type of development because it's what a green and sustainable city needs.
Councilor Silver.
I would like to make a motion to continue this conversation hearing on January 20th.
Second.
Right. Any other discussion? And I mean, I know we've talked about transportation, maybe separate and apart, having something. I don't know whether we need to figure that all out. Okay. All right. So we'll, so all in favor of the motion to continue this to January 20th. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All
And
right,
then, Mayor,
so
I move that we send to Transportation and Transit the Six Forks Road corridor traffic and pedestrian issue. I don't know. That's the best way I could frame it. I think everyone knows what we're talking about.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Yes, ma'am.
No discussion on that one. Let's vote for that.
Okay. So all in favor of that motion, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, so that's unanimous. And
It's not a conversation if you don't allow the public to speak.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I just want to add a couple comments, maybe emphasizing or reiterating the points that I did hear. I want to thank all the residents that have been part of the Midtown Area Plan. I think that is where I'm looking at for heights. And I do see that 20 stories max. And so that has been, a bit of a challenge for me in thinking about this case. At the same time, I understand there's this opportunity for open space to allow for the higher heights, which I like. I want to note this is privately operated open space, so it is up to the owner of the space to allow it to be accessible to the public. It's not like a park. And then on the affordable housing piece, just to again reiterate, that was one of the main inconsistencies that I saw from the staff report. And so this case doesn't add entitlement, but it also doesn't provide for affordability. So just again, to emphasize that that is something in the Midtown plan that was pretty clear that any requests over 7 stories have an affordable housing component.
Okay. Have additional, Councilor Patton.
Sorry, not to ping pong. If I could just ask our staff, when we send that item, when we've sent this transportation discussion to committee, I think much of the discussion here at the table so far has been about car transportation, but if you could all be prepared to comment on transit as well.
I was just going to add, I heard a comment from the audience. One of the benefits of committee is we do take public comment at committee. So I anticipate the chair is going to accept and receive public comments at the committee meeting when we discuss the Six Forks Road plan.
All right. Well,
which is January 29th from 3 to 5 in council chambers. Yeah, they're going to be ready.
All right. So that then concludes tonight's discussion of Z-34-25, and we appreciate all of you coming.
Oh, thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm going to need the receipts because I don't take any developer money. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a little wrong.
Well,